Some backstory. I had been dating my ex-fiancée Sarah for 4 years. We had been planning to get married in November 2020, but I found out at the start of this month that she cheated on me. She begged me to give her another chance, but I broke it off. The problem was that being cheated on is, in my mind, completely emasculating and humiliating. So I never told anyone that was the reason we broke up. For obvious reasons, Sarah also didn't tell people we broke up because she cheated. So people have blamed me for the breakup, including my mom. They just see that I dumped her out of the blue. I've gone very strict no contact with Sarah after I discovered she was cheating on me. Sarah has been talking with my mom and has convinced her that if we could talk one more time, we would be able to reconcile. My mom has been applying hardcore pressure on me to talk with Sarah, but I've explained that there's no chance we will ever get back together. So tonight I go over to my mom's place because she's hosting family for Christmas Eve. I'm there for a bit talking with my aunts and uncles and cousins when the doorbell rings and I can see it's Sarah. I ask what the hell is going on and my mom says she invited Sarah so we can work this out in the spirit of the holidays. I'm pissed now because the only way to explain my side of the story is to tell everyone I was cheated on. Complete humiliation in front of my whole family. So as my mom goes to the front door, I go into the bathroom. My mom starts knocking on the door saying that I need to come out and talk to my ex like an adult. I say screw it, kick out the window screen and get in my car and go home. My mom called a short while ago saying she's cutting ties with me over my behavior. She's really fixated on me jumping out of a window and that Sarah will always be like a child to her. My sister called me after to ream me out for ruining Christmas. I broke down and told her that Sarah cheated on me, which is why I dumped her and didn't want to see her under any circumstances. She called me a big idiot who was lying to cover for myself. Am I really in the wrong? I gotta say though that op honestly shoulda came clean at some point before it escalated to any of this. Yes, it shouldn't have been his family's business and yes, she should have believed him when he said that he was cheated on. But come on, when you reach the point that you have to essentially break out of your mom's bathroom to get to your car and drive away to avoid telling someone what happened, you have to take a step back and see how that looks to people. Having said that, I think op needs a long hard break from just about everybody and needs time to himself. Everyone's the idiot here. Climbing out of the window because you don't want to explain what happened. What are you, 16? Just talk to your family. The humiliation of being cheated on is less than the shame of acting like this to people who love you. Yes, they should have respected your no contact rule. But seriously, they also need to know what actually happened to warrant this. Maybe some truth would have got them on your side and you wouldn't be in this situation. A problem that could be solved by a decent conversation. Not the idiot. Your mother cornering you at the holidays of all times is so unbelievably rude. She could have attempted this at a coffee shop or somewhere else. Regardless, I feel like if I were on your shoes, I would have done the same thing too. Because really, the alternative probably would have been a giant blow up in front of the family. And jumping out a window sounds much more fun. As for your mother cutting ties with you, that definitely makes her the idiot. You'd think she'd support her kid, but apparently not. This is a weird situation, but I was married to my husband for 6 years before I met mother-in-law. Mother-in-law is from a culture where respecting your elders is everything, and the daughter-in-law has to pretty much grovel to make her mother-in-law happy. My husband knew upfront that I wasn't going to play into that. Him and his mom already had a bad relationship and he told her that I was not going to partaking, so she went fully no contact. He still sees his dad and sister about once a year, but mother-in-law and his older brother don't see him and never met me. Mother-in-law has 3 children, brother-in-law is married to a woman from their culture who is scared crapless of mother-in-law, and mother-in-law has some fun with that and takes out her anger towards her own mother-in-law on poor sister-in-law. Sister-in-law is her golden child, but does find this a little ridiculous and stay in contact with my husband. Anyway, we visited father-in-law over the summer. He doesn't mention anything to mother-in-law because she says my husband is dead to her and he respects that. My husband gets migraines and wasn't feeling well, so laid down at the hotel and father-in-law took me and sister-in-law to lunch. Halfway through some woman came over and it took me a minute to realize it was mother-in-law. She looked super young, like way too young to be my husband's mom, so I genuinely didn't put it together at first. Also, all I knew of this woman was that she was so old school she would cut her son off over respect, so I didn't expect her to be wearing shorts and a tank top. By the time I realized who she was, her and her friend had already invited themselves to join us. Father-in-law said that I was sister-in-law's friend and gave me a death stare, so I just went along with it. She was very nice, though lunch was hella awkward. When we got back to the hotel, I told my husband and he got mad. He said I should have told her who I was and that I let her win. I guess sister-in-law told her when they got home, and mother-in-law lost it and was screaming and throwing crap around. Sister-in-law also thinks I should have told her, but so she would have had the option to leave. Not the idiot. Look, I'm a white guy who married an Indian woman, which is a culture that emphasizes respecting your elders and making daughters-in-law subservient to their mothers-in-law. But that's still no excuse for straight-up abuse. It sounds like your mother-in-law is a narcissist and your husband did the right thing by going no contact. It would be great if the other family members did too, but everyone has to make their own decisions. And honestly, I bet your mother-in-law intentionally followed her husband to see what he was up to. Not the idiot. You totally won, she's just livid that she didn't get to treat you like crap. She got played. Maybe if she would have looked at a picture of you once, she would have recognized you. Do it again, but change your appearance so she doesn't recognize you. Truck her into being pleasant and then have someone else tell her who you really are. It'll drive her crazy. Also, sister-in-law sounds really selfish that she wanted you to tell so she could escape. At least she didn't call you all out while you were together. Not the idiot. This is so Asian. In my Chinese culture, the mother-in-law is the freaking devil, so much so that I told my parents when I was younger that I'll never marry any Asian guy who will give me in-laws. I was only half joking. It's completely acceptable behavior for the mother-in-law to be a monstrously abusive witch. Never got the logic of that. Well, your husband really needs a therapist to deal with his anger issues towards his family. The witch of a mother-in-law is doing you both a favor by going no contact. About 6 weeks ago, my husband's sister and her 3 kids came to stay with my husband and me. His sister was involved in an accident and upon the release from the hospital, needed some help with some stuff, and so we welcomed her and the kids into our home with our kids. She was in a wheelchair for the first few weeks until her left arm was okay again, but her leg and foot have been taking some time. Even during that time, it was frustrating. I would consult with her on meals to prepare, but I have 2 kids with allergies, so that needs to be taken into account, and I wasn't going to start cooking multiple meals. We would agree on something after a lot of back and forth, and then she and the kids would complain that it wasn't what they wanted, and then after the first few days she started ordering takeout after I had already started cooking and had cooked the food. Instead of just saying she didn't want what I was doing. And so then we had food going to waste. My husband confronted her on it and she said she wouldn't do it again and apologized. Then last week it all came to a head. I had decided to cook her youngest's favorite meal for their birthday, which she knew about and had said thank you for, and then sprung takeout on us and said that she hadn't wanted her kid to have a screwy dinner for their birthday. Cue me saying that was enough and she could worry about feeding her kids while I would worry about mine. Done. No big issue. I refuse to be disrespected like that though. Then yesterday she ran out of money and she asked if I would cook for them all again, and I told her no. I told her she disrespected me enough and wasted enough of my time and our money and she could figure something out since I would hate for her to eat crap. She raged at me. Told me I was taking our issues out on the kids and how she's meant to be resting more than she was, so how dare I put her health at risk over petty fighting. We're family, blah blah. I told her she should have thought of all this before deciding she could keep ordering stuff behind my back and then insulting my cooking, and she never had this issue before they moved in. She ended up calling her parents and they transferred money to her, but apparently they think I should have been a more gracious host too, and my husband's sister is basically saying I acted like an idiot. I am still so shocked at the nerve, but questioning if she's right. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Nope. And yeah, I'd be shocked at that kind of behavior, too. Wouldn't happen in my house. I'd have stopped cooking the first time she wasted food. Somewhere along the line, she developed an opinion of herself that's not backed up by the facts. The arguments she used are the kind of things you expect out of alcoholics and addicts when you confront them on their behavior, so something about this situation has warped her perspective. Maybe a bit of post-traumatic disorder after the accident. Not the idiot. A host can only be as gracious as their guest, and she has been blatantly disrespectful on more than one occasion. Plus, she agreed to stop ordering takeout behind your back and then started doing it again. This is wholeheartedly unacceptable. Plus, if she is out of the wheelchair, then it is safe for her to go home and have her kids help her around the house. Just feeding 2 people can be expensive, let alone the small platoon you have in your home now. Not the idiot at all. Her kids don't like your food. I don't think there is anything wrong with her ordering food for them, but she should communicate. It sounds like instead of being forthright, she didn't want to say that they don't like your cooking until she did, rudely. Honestly, this whole thing is being handled in a very petty and immature manner. Communication is definitely an issue. Everyone's the idiot here, somewhat, although sometimes people just don't get along, and maybe there is just a personal clash here. Some info. So my parents for years had the same cleaning lady. I was somewhat friendly with her daughter who's the same age. But it didn't become a thing until we were 20. I was back home from college for winter break. We got to spend time together, and then I went back to school. Well, that time we spent together resulted in me getting her pregnant, only I didn't know. She didn't want to tell anyone who it was because she was scared for her mom's job and me possibly rejecting our baby. After I finished college I tried to reach out to her again, and that's when I found out. My son was 3 that time. We did a paternity test to find out I was the father. My parents showed their true colors after I told them. Should add my son's mom's side is Cuban, so he half Cuban. They always gave subtle stereotypical stuff every now, but this was the first I saw them as full-blown idiots. They denied my son being family. They accused my son's mom of being a gold digger, tampering with paternity results to try to trap me into taking care of her kid. Like if a court DNA test was gonna lie. Unfortunately they did fire her mom, but she managed to find work. For all these reasons, I stopped having contact with my parents. For 3 years since. I'm with my son's mom now and we've been living together for a while. A few months ago I got a surprise visit from my grandma on my dad's side. She finally found out why I'm not around the family anymore and she wanted to meet her great-grandson. Lucky that she not like the rest of my family and she was really mad when I told her the whole story. My grandma made lots of changes to her will and says she wants my son to have something. No coincidence that once this happened my parents were suddenly wanting to come around, wanting to reconcile. Have a feeling she probably took them out of her will or something. Most of their wealth came from her. Because I'm rejecting them from being in our lives, my mom decided to post a pic of my son on Facebook recently on his 6th day. Saw it cause my sis sent it to me. It's her venting about not being in her grandson's life and to tell him happy birthday. A lot of people were giving her sympathy, so I commented, "Remember you said you didn't want a brown baby in the family." Within that hour, got some reactions and my mom ended up deleting. Some in our family say I was an idiot for embarrassing my mom online, where she was only venting her frustration. And so should have left it at that. My mom is mad too for using a mistake she made back then to humiliate her to friends and other family who saw the post and are now being negative toward her. Hard to feel like I am when I just called her out when she tried to pull the victim card. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. However, in the future, given the fact that your mother's friends now know, I would suggest avoiding any further conflicts. She knows what she did, they know what she did, and you know what she did. It's never wrong to call out stereotypical behavior and behavior that seems to have an ulterior motive, which you've done. The problem is, now you've given her a reason to look as if she no longer has an ulterior motive and that she would actually like to change. Go and remain, no contact. It was not a mistake, it was classism and misogyny. People can have a change of heart, but they do need to actively work to repair the damage they did if the persons they hurt accept their apologies and reparation. Did anything in her manners or social media showed her stopping being a bigot and owning her past actions? I very much doubt it. Even mistakes are not clear of consequences, but again, this was not a mistake. Not the idiot, and best of luck and happiness with your family. Grandma seems to be a good person to have around too. Not the idiot. You didn't weaponize social media to put pressure on her to get something you wanted, she did that. It was a tactic to guilt you into letting her into your life again by bringing social pressure to bear on you, painting herself as the broken-hearted grandma whose mean old son won't let her see the precious grandbaby, after privately using stereotypical language to disown that truly precious child. Once she lobbied what she did on social media, you were certainly clear to respond to the same audience with the truth. She set herself up here. I work for a small tech company, 20 or 30 employees, where I used to be a service technician, but after a few years I took a job in the office, as I wanted a more stable schedule, as I want to start a family at some point in the near future. I enjoy the office work, I get along well with my boss and coworkers, and on occasion I go back into the field to help out and train newbies. They didn't change my pay, and I got yearly raises as usual. Work was going well, but some higher-ups thought that some departments were overspending, and so they hired someone to manage all the departments and make cuts on things we were wasting money on. I guess I'm one of those things that the company was wasting money on because I got called into this manager's office. She informed me that I make the money a technician does, but I don't bring in the money service technicians do because I'm rarely out on calls and mostly work in the office. She told me I'm not a technician and gave me a pay cut. I didn't argue or make a scene, although I made a mental note to start looking for other options for work, and I went back to work. Frustrations grew from there as she decided that there would be no Christmas bonus this year. Fast forward a few weeks and we're at the present, where today I was asked to go out in the field. I told them I'm told not a technician and I don't get paid what a technician does, so I can't go. Well, this sparked up a whole thing where this manager called me into the boardroom with some higher-ups from the company. She tried to butter me up by telling me that I'm a vital asset to the company and she doesn't want me to leave, but I'm being unreasonable and I shouldn't be arguing about my pay and that helping out in with the technicians is part of my job. So I got her to pull up my job description and nowhere on it does it mention doing technician work. I explained that if I'm working in the office I'll play by her rules and take the reduced pay, but if I'm asked to go out and do technician work, I want my technician pay on those days. She again refused, so I told her if I'm being paid an office worker's salary, then I'm going to work in the office until she changes her mind. The higher-ups in the room said they would have to discuss this, and I didn't end up going out to help the technician. So, am I being unreasonable and more importantly am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It is good to set these boundaries. I did something similar about 5 years ago. Used to work 10 to 12 hours a day. We were informed no bonus occurring as sales did not meet their target. This was something I could not impact in any way. So I said I would be doing my hours and only my hours that I am paid for. Also refused to discuss work during lunch, polite about it though, say things like I will come talk to you about that after lunch or at 1 p.m. etc. I am actually preferring it and never had a complaint. Not the idiot, sounds like the higher-ups are trying to take advantage of the loyal workers and cut their pay thinking they won't complain and it won't change how much work they do. As someone who works construction and often handles responsibilities outside my job description, I 100% agree they should pay you fairly if they expect work outside your job description. Paying the bare minimum for a specific position means they lose the right to expect work outside of your responsibilities just because it benefits them. Not the idiot, I'm so glad you stood your ground with the company and bosses on this. This is one of many techniques they like to use so that they don't have to pay what is deserved, which many end up losing lawsuits over when they try to force situations or withhold payments due. Don't let them push you around, document everything that you can. Cover your bases, as she may try to force a situation that you need to protect yourself. I've been here myself, and while it's not easy, it's worth it to know your worth.